Welcome to another brand new episode of Perspectives. I'm your host Samir Yunus, and today on this rather special episode, it's going to be rather unusual because generally you have people who need no introduction because of all their accolades. And today on this show, I do have a person who doesn't need an introduction, not just because he has so many accolades, but it's unusual because he himself is someone who's used to introducing other people. It is my pleasure and honor to have on this show today, in the same frame as me, to be honest, it's an honor to have Mr. Arun Bandaranayake, a legendary TV presenter, radio presenter, and also an MC, so much of an MC these days. How are you doing, Mr. Das? All good?
Fine. First things first, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam to you. That's a nice way of starting things off, isn't it? Let's look back at the last year.
Yeah.
I know you must be busy now with all events starting again, the new normal, as you say. But last year must have been quite free for you, considering lockdown, not much happening. How did you end up spending so much time at home? Because I'm sure you're not used to it, standing behind podiums and cameras and mics all the time. Staying at home must have been a tough time.
Well, I wouldn't use the word tough, but I would say that it was a period of adjustment.
Right.
So I think one has to start with what's inside here. So you have to, try and be positive. The reason I say that is because it can be fashionable, even chic, to be a complainer and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, that's not what I'm going to do, because I'm just going to make my neighbors feel miserable also. So let's see what we can do to be positive. So that, as I said, was the mental adjustment. And about being less busy, yes, that was a bit of a surprise when you kind of rise in the morning. You suddenly realize you have many hours ahead of you with not much demanded of you. So that was an adjustment. But I must say, without getting too long-winded, since as I mentioned, that there was a period of adjustment, what I tried to do was to keep my mind going on many things. And some ideas, or shall we say, pursuits which had been in the back burner for want of time, I was able to turn toward those things, reading being one. Okay. And also, I had inquiries from people some time ago to develop a series of short film documentaries.
Nice.
And that kind of thing, obviously you would know, requires a little more reading and research to be able to write effectively and cover material fairly wide, but in a short period of time you really need to be disciplined. So all of that was done. So I think it wasn't a complete waste of time.
Talking about making good use of your free time. Okay, let's roll back the years.
Yeah.
I like to start conversations like this on the show, Mr. Das, because it's always good to know where things sparked, where things started. Okay. As a schoolboy, back in the late 70s, early 80s?
Yeah, well, I would say 60s into the 70s.
Okay.
Yes.
Was this always your ambition? You wanted to be a radio TV presenter? You wanted to be in the entertainment industry? Or did you have some other plans and just destiny changed course? What happened?
Well, a bit of all, I'll tell you. Okay. When I was a schoolboy, I was not necessarily outstandingly brilliant in academia. I can tell you that quite frankly and honestly. But however, I was interested in topics and material which was of a serious type. I mean, I wasn't all about playing and just, wasting time. I was interested in certain things. Theatre, I was interested in.
Right.
Not just to be on stage and perform and get the audience to clap and that, something more than that, I felt I could contribute. So I was interested in theatre, and I was also blessed with some very pleasant company in school. I would say colleagues and classmates, and some younger than I, who were of a similar bent. And believe it or not, at that youthful age, we were working on drama scripts, original material.
Wow, okay.
We felt that we would be able to contribute. Of course, those are dreams. Nobody ever performed what we wrote, but having said that, we were able to create some things which we felt were original and different. I think you asked me, did I have the ambition to end up doing what I'm doing now? The answer would be no. I was interested more in, as I said, theatre and maybe being a writer.
Okay.
And there were influences, but let's not go into that right now. And then I thought radio would be an excellent medium. Somehow I'd grown up with radio. There was nothing called television until the late or middle 1980s. That's when television happened. But before that, it was radio. Radio was king. And in my mind, I thought that there was an opportunity to do something on radio. And I had geared my mind toward that. And as a schoolboy, I was involved in radio drama.
Okay.
As a schoolboy, which of course was Radio Ceylon or SLBC at the time, I was involved. And I would go there maybe once a week, and I was involved in some radio theatre. So that was my introduction into this realm. But to be a professional, it took a long while before that happened.
Right. So radio and then TV and now a well-known MC. We're going to go for a break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask a very difficult question from Mr. Dias. I'm going to ask him to choose one of those amazing things that he does, which he likes to do. See you on the other side of the break. Welcome back to Perspectives. We are in conversation with one of TV's most well-known faces. In fact, not just TV, but also radio. And of course, at most events in Colombo, you will see him standing behind the podium and waxing lyrical about the event. And of course, those who are at it. Mr. Arun Bandaranayake is on the show today. I promised the audience, Mr. Dias, that we will ask you a very difficult question. You were a presenter on TV, on radio, an actor as well. I want to get into detail a bit more on that. A writer, an MC now, most popularly. If you had to choose one of them where you would say, this is where I'm in my element, this is what I enjoy doing most, what would it be and why is that?
Okay. I think being an MC is good because I have control of what I am saying.
Right.
And it is not dependent on somebody else's script. So, I have that. And also to be able to deal with an audience is always very refreshing. And remember, no two audiences are the same.
Absolutely.
So every time you're at an event, you're dealing with a new challenge, a new situation, a new framework or reference, as you might say, frame of reference. And that gets the adrenaline flowing. So, that challenge can be enjoyable. Of course, if things go horribly wrong, it goes horribly wrong. But by and large, you are able to control it. So if you ask me why I like it, that's the reason. Because it's a kind of a fun thing, and no two events are the same. So
absolutely. So
variety, as they say, is a spice of life.
And, I'll agree with you because I've also seen that sometimes when you're talking to a live audience, depending on how they react, your creative juices start flowing.
I think so. Yes.
Yes. Right. Okay. Things have changed a lot though from back then when you were a TV presenter in the 80s up until the 90s and of course early 2000s. I presented news 10 years ago, Mr. Dias, and even I can see that so much has changed from back then to now. I'm just talking about a decade. For you, it must be about 3 decades already.
Yeah.
With the advent of social media, obviously, it has become one of the most important channels of information.
Yes.
Things have changed quite a bit, Mr. Dias. What's your perspective, as I would call it, on social media being a means of, being a medium of information for people to use? The pros and cons, how do you view it in general?
Well, you've opened up a can of worms in a sense. In a sense, I'm not saying it's bad. No, social media has its part to play, can be effective for a number of reasons. Briefly, we have found the traditional media lacking, and so this is a kind of a reaction to that lack that social media has become so vibrant. Now, the problem with that is that there are absolutely no controls with regard to information that gets out. You don't need me to tell you how communities have been affected by bad handling of information. I would say mishandling of information. If the word fake is overused, I'll have to use it again. So
I think distinguishing between fact and fake has become very difficult.
That's right, yes. And so those are the challenges that we have. I don't think there's anything that can be done to stop the tide or stem the tide, but I would say that the audience really needs to get their perspectives organized. I'm using the word organized without saying adjusted. You need to be organized. You need to be able to differentiate. This doesn't sound right for these reasons. This sounds reliable and credible. The audience really is the final arbiter in this whole thing. I can't keep telling the audience, you got to believe it because I'm the one who's saying it.
True.
That's impossible.
Yeah. Simple as it is. Check fact versus fake, isn't it? Right. Let's come back to social media, because this is a subject I like to speak, because we youngsters, our lives revolve around it, doesn't it?
I'm certain. I'm certain.
You know, in your day, speaking
Yeah.
to a camera itself was a skill. It required serious, practice. It required a special ability.
Definitely.
But now, with the advent of smartphones, everyone seems to be doing it quite easily, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
speaking to a camera has become it's a normal thing. It's like speaking to another human being.
Quite.
However, still, as a presenter, even for young people like myself, it takes special ability to be able to stand out, to be an outstanding or to be an excellent presenter. There are some key qualities that you need to have. It's not just about being able to. It's not just about the confidence of being able to speak to a camera. There are many more other things that one requires. What do you think are some of those things, Mr. Das?
Oh, yeah. Some, yeah, okay. Now, confidence does not equate with credibility. Confidence,
Correct.
you could be a very confident conner. So, the idea is to build on credibility. How do you do that? Well, supporting facts, I think, always need to be presented. You have to be aware of them, even if you don't talk too much about it. You would know, I would know, then when I'm using my device or whatever, camera or whatever, I would know this is my limit. This is a point beyond which I will not go because it's either incorrect, unfair, or just downright wrong. So you need to be aware. And I think you speak of skill, like anything, whether it's riding a bicycle or anything, even skipping rope. Practice is very, very important. Your credibility comes on your style. I'm not saying artificial style or you're a monkey imitating some other person who you think is worthy of imitation. No, you need to be original, but you still need practice. You need to know how you present yourself before your camera, whatever shape or form it is, even if it is a small thing like a smartphone. You need to know how to present yourself in front of that device. How you address the camera, which means you're addressing an audience, and the dignity that you bring in all become very important. So you asked some of those things. Those are some of the things that you need to worry about or be concerned with. And always speak the truth,
Of course.
Be sure that what you're saying can be borne by fact rather than, I think, as far as I can see, my opinion is best avoided.
that opinion, the word opinion is a very heavy word. I want to come back on that, but let's go in for a quick break. We'll see you on the other side of Perspectives. Welcome back to Perspectives, the talk show here on UTV, a brand new English talk show. We are in our third episode already. It feels at home. Today we are in conversation with Mr. Arun Das, legendary TV presenter, radio presenter, and an MC. We've been talking about things like speaking to a camera, being an outstanding presenter, and of course, how things have changed from back then unto now with the advent of things like social media. One thing that has changed, Mr. Das, at least from what I've seen over the last few years, is journalism in itself has changed. Again, I think it must be because of social media, because I remember back in the day, journalism was about presenting the facts to an audience. You take the two sides of the story, you present the facts to the audience. A journalist doesn't give out his or her opinion. The journalist presents the facts. But things have changed. I've seen of late that journalists are now voicing opinions, saying this is what it is. This is the truth versus this is the false side of the story. How do you take that? It must be frustrating for you as a veteran journalist, as someone who's been so well known for news presenting, and someone who vouches for the fact that, okay, media is about showing the two sides of the story and letting the audience decide. Do you see this as a problem that is happening right now?
Well, I would use the word phenomenon. It is a phenomenon, and I am of the opinion that it is not confined to our own country. This seems to be happening
Of course, yes.
in many other places as well. With the release or the democratization of media, social media, if you like to use that term, that's fine. The democratization of media, YouTube, this, that, and the other, has allowed people to present viewpoints. So the word journalist now is accompanied often, and that's where I have a problem. The word journalist is accompanied by another A word, and that's agenda.
Okay.
The agenda that one pursues influences what you're going to be covering and saying and showing. So that's the problem. Now, you have already brought to the surface the professional level, which is inform, not pursue the agenda, but inform. And then provide your reader, your hearer, the audience, the opportunity to differentiate, to form their own opinions, and to understand what is happening. Still, not necessarily an agenda. But we must remember, though, Sam, now we are in a marketplace. To me, that's a problem.
Okay.
Maybe 50, 60, even 100 years ago, it was not a marketplace. Journalists were there to inform and to encourage people to find things out for themselves and respond as needed. There must have been agendas even then. But then there were those who were known for their political agenda, and then there were others who were known as professional journalists who did what they needed.
But now it's hard to distinguish between the two.
Sometimes it's very hard to distinguish now. So I'll deal with this thing and kind of bring it to a close. Is it possible for a journalist to provide an opinion? I would say yes and no.
Okay.
If the trouble is taken to assimilate or bring together, collate information, then there is an opinion that you are tending toward.
Okay.
And it is possible for a journalist subtly to express that opinion.
Right.
Not with a view to rousing the rabble, no, but with a view to saying this is perhaps the best thing at this time. Okay? Let's take in these unfortunate things that have been going on in our community and your community, our community here in Sri Lanka, with all kinds of stories going on and sidelining of certain members of our population. Now, a journalist has a responsibility to say, this is wrong. That's an opinion. That is an opinion, but it is a considered opinion.
Correct.
So it is good to be able to express an opinion. On the other hand, it may be good to hold back from expressing the opinion, but present the needed information that the audience, the reader, can work things out for themselves. So it's a tough line, a careful line that we have to draw in all of this. So a professional, I think, really needs to work at his professionalism. That's what I would like to say.
Right. Perspective of Mr. Arun Dias, as long as journalism is concerned and professional journalism is concerned. Right. We're about to close. We've spoken about a lot of things that need to be better in this day and age, Mr. Dias. Young presenters like myself, in fact, you must have inspired a generation of presenters in this country.
I wonder.
I'm sure a lot of them are still are watching this. What would it be that you would say to them, to young 20 to 30-year-old presenters who would like to walk in your shoes and to be known as legendary TV presenters? What would that one piece of advice be?
Oh, goodness. I am reluctant to take on the role of either prophet or preacher.
Well, I guess we could count on your experience.
That's right, yes. So I would like to say, be original. It is good not to imitate. That doesn't mean that you don't learn from other people. And there are always good things to learn from people, and also a few negative things to learn that you would want to avoid.
Correct.
So it's good to take note of what is going on around. So I would say it's good to be well read. I think that is a fundamental. Why are you well read? To show off? I would hope not. But the idea you're well read is because it expands your horizon and you're able to draw on many things to be able to handle that moment in time, either in front of the camera or in front of an audience where you're MC or something like that, or having to, communicate something to an audience. There is so much to draw from if you have a wider horizon. If you do not have that, then you're back into stock phraseology. What you heard the other day, you repeat. I would say regurgitate.
Right.
So best to avoid those things. So for that reason, it's good to be widely read as much as possible on all sorts of topics. And it doesn't have to be what only interests you, me personally. Look at other things. What are ladies thinking about? What womankind all about? What are they considering now? What are the fears that worry them? Good to know.
course.
What are writers of this sort, the other sort, what are they writing? And how are they responding to, well, if politics has influenced humankind, they certainly have. So what are writers saying that would be cautionary? All those things are very good. So then it comes out in what you're doing yourself or what you're saying and communicating. That balance comes through because you have so much to select from, rather than saying, I heard so-and-so say this. That might be dangerous.
True.
So those are a few things that I can leave with you.
Amazing. If there's one line I could pick up from that, it would be expand your horizon. The more you know, the better it is.
Yes,
Whether you're an
indeed.
MC or a presenter. Mr. Dias, it's been a lovely conversation.
Thanks,
I certainly
Sam.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, and thank you very much. It was very kindly of you to allow me this space.
Amazing. There you go. Mr. Arun Dias, the well-known TV personality and of course radio and MC and many other things. I certainly learned so much from this conversation and I'm sure you did too. We'll be back next week once again with another special guest here on UTV on your favorite talk show. I'm assuming it's your favorite already. This is Perspectives. I'm your host Samir Yunus. We'll see you next week on Sunday at 7 p.m. Until then, have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.